everyone. I'm Nina Collins. I am the Chief Creative Officer at Revel. Revel is the social platform for women over 40. We're a social platform and an events platform. So it's a place where women can come and talk to each other in groups, like on Facebook, around subjects and around regions, and then also find events and create events. So you can find book clubs and hikes and organize all sorts of things. And Jennifer Hammer, our guest today, is the Director of Partnerships at a company called Silvernest, which I'm really excited to tell you about. And I also do partnerships. So we're two partnership girls having a conversation. And this Wednesday conversation that I do every week gets recorded for our podcast, Raging Gracefully, which gets released on Fridays. So you can participate in the conversation here in the webinar. There'll also be a video recording and a podcast recording. So welcome, Jennifer. I'm going to introduce you properly. Jennifer is passionate about finding ways to help people stay in their homes, exploring options for affordable housing, and building relationships with communities and companies that support the aging population across the nation. Basically, the way I describe this is Silvernest is essentially, we'll let Jennifer describe it in her own words, but in my understanding of it, it's almost like the vehicle for women to create situations like Golden Girls. It's basically the ideas around home sharing, that like women our age are often getting divorced, getting widowed, having an empty nest. Maybe your house is too big and you want people to share it with, to share the expenses. Maybe you're lonely. Maybe you can't afford your house and you want to move in with someone else to, reduce expenses. Maybe you're just looking for an adventure. So welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you so much. And you did a great job. So that's all, folks.
Okay, that's it. That's Silvernest. No, all right. So my first question will be some basic ones. Because I was really thrilled to discover it was someone from Silvernest that found us on LinkedIn, and I had never heard of you, and it just seemed like such a cool business idea. So I'm curious, how long have you been around? How did it start? Where are you located?
Let's see. Okay, so it's been around. It's kind of back a napkin, maybe in 2015. Went live in 2016. Our founder is an over 40 female, Wendy Burkhart, and still an advisor to us and wonderful friend and advocate. So hi, Wendy, if you ever watch this, she's great. So I've been with Silvernest for about 3 years, but and I discovered them through kind of work in the aging population. Had somebody say, you need to know about Silvernest, and found out a little bit about them. And now I am working for them. So
that's great. Well, and I should say to our listeners, one of the reasons when we spoke to Silvernest and we said we'd like to interview them, I said it'd be great if we could interview someone in our demographic, but also Jennifer has done this. She's done home sharing. So we're going to ask her about that. So she has lots of stuff to tell us about. So how many people has the company helped so far? Like how many people have you served? And are you all over America?
Thousands and thousands. So we have more signups, every day. I think we're averaging, and the back of the house team could tell you more accurately, but we have hundreds of listings come online every month, and of course they come and go as people find each other, because we have people that sign up to share their home, and then people that sign up to look for a place that's affordable and flexible. So that inventory ebbs and flows. We are nationwide, so we're available in all 50 states. We started in Denver. Back in the days of offices, we're all a remote team now, but when I jumped on board, we were in Denver. So we have great inventory there just because we had such a presence physically. Nice. And yes, so you can go to see if there's listings in your area. There may or may not be. We have some markets that are, way more robust, and places where we have partnerships, and that's what you and I both do. And so that helps.
That's similar to Revel, right? Revel started in the Bay Area, and the Wolfer started in New York. So we have the most women in New York and California, but we really have women all over the country. And we started similarly, right? Like the Wolfer was 2015 and Revel was 2019. So we're nicely paired. So tell me about how it works. Like it sounds a little bit like a cross between a dating app and an Airbnb, or like I've used homeexchange.com, which is a pretty cool site. So I imagine you go on and there are listings that are about the houses, or are they about the people, or they?
So the listings you'll see if you go onto the site are going to be the listings for the houses, just to give you an idea. But if you want to contact each other, you need to make, a profile as a home seeker if you're looking for a place, and then you'll be able to see each other's profiles if you choose to engage. So if that makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it's it is a fair comparison, I guess, say kind of, a dating site and, kind of a home sharing site, just with a lot more around it, a lot of matching, because the key to living together is going to be compatibility. So we have an algorithm that helps people define what they want, age ranges, smoking, pets, firearms, all kinds of things, budgets, things that you would naturally want to know before you even, engage with someone. We try and filter out the stuff you don't want.
That is a lot like a dating app. Like you're
Mhm.
basically saying what your preferences are and what you need in someone, and then you guys are
Right.
filtering it. That's pretty cool.
Mhm.
And what are you specifically trying to focus on people in our demographic, or is this available for everyone at every age? How does that kind of sort out?
Great question. So the majority of our users tend to be women over 50, but anyone can hop on, and as long as you're an adult, so 18 plus.
Okay.
And so we have a lot of room in there for intergenerational relationships. For, my roommate I'm still home sharing actually. My roommate is 58. I'll be 52 next month. And so, we're right in the same age range and have, adult children and things like that. So, but you can
tell us about your situation, because that's cool. Are you sharing your house, or are you sharing someone else's house?
So right now I'm in Joan's house. We actually started out sharing my house. And then through just a series of kind of random events, ended up home sharing again, but now we're in her house, which is kind of interesting. So I've been on both sides of the coin.
What happened to your house?
My ex-husband is living in that house now. So, which is great. We're great friends. We are lovely, lovely friends. So it's all
And
good.
did you stay like in the same town, or did you
Yeah.
like make this a big adventure?
No, I'm about 2.5 miles up from the house I had. So okay. Yeah, so it worked. My ex-husband was Navy, so he'd been living on tiny ships and tiny rooms and was ready for a big house to take care of. And I was ready to not take care of a big house anymore. And so that worked out. And Joan has a really cool house, and I live up the road in a really cool house now.
Wow, that's so cool. And your kids are out of the house, I guess.
They are. So I've got one actually in the Navy, and then I've got another graduating this year from Virginia Tech. So yeah.
Wow. And so when they come home, do they come to you at Jones, or do they go to their dad, or is it both? How does that work?
It was kind of both, mostly mine because their dad was deployed for a while. So when he was deployed, and that was kind of, I thought, oh, my kids are going to think I'm a little like, why does mom have a roommate? And you worry, you talk as a mother, you get in your own head sometimes about everything, but they love Joan and Joan loves them. And so it's just opened up this whole new network of people that love my children and, friends that I can count on. And when I need something, or my children now need something, they just have a whole
other
network.
People that they can reach out to. And what, may I ask, what was your primary motivation for doing this? Was it financial, emotional?
The impetus for me was a conversation with Joan, just about where she was in her life and where I'd been. And it started out as, hey, if you need to just land somewhere for a little while, my kids are both at college, I have an extra room. Feel free to stop by anytime if you want to spend the weekend. It's me and the dog and 4 bedrooms. And so come by, have a glass of wine, whatever. And that turned into about 1.5 years of living together after a little while. It just seemed
That's great.
So logical.
And do you sign it? There are questions in the chat, which I'm going to get to, I promise everyone, but I just have more questions myself. Do you sign a lease? Does Silvernest help you with that? Like, how do you figure out the parameters and the boundaries? Because of course there are lots of things that can go wrong. And I'm also curious how many things you guys have seen go wrong. Like, what's your worst case scenario?
So let's see. So yes, to the lease question, cannot recommend that enough. Joan and I did this organically before I even knew Silvernest existed. And one of the reasons I came on board and was so attracted to Silvernest is because we did go through our own kind of growing pains from doing this a little bit, ad hoc, organically, just, oh yeah, this will work, I guess, we'll make it work. And luckily I just happened to find somebody, who was willing to make it work too. But we did end up on our own saying we should probably figure out how should we make some rules and formalize this, just in case somebody gets angry, and try to navigate through some things. And it's funny now looking back at what we do on our platform to kind of help people do that much more effectively and easily and with a lot more
Yes,
robust.
there's a lot to figure out. And sorry, I keep
There's a
looking
lot.
down. My
No,
dog is
that's all right.
scratching the carpet.
Oh, mine just finished barking.
He's
starting
being
crazy
so
out there.
annoying. But no, there are a lot of things you have to figure out, right? Like, do you
Mhm.
split the electric bill? Like, who pays what? Are you just paying rent, or are you paying a share of all the maintenance expenses? And
All that.
what happens when there's a repair? Or like, what happens, like, if I'm trying to think, like, if I had someone living in my house, what if she broke the towel rack? Who pays for that? Like, how do you figure
Mhm.
that stuff out?
Right, and exactly, we address all of that on, on our platform, and because those questions arise, and it's just like any relationship, if key is compatibility, which is our, the number one thing we do that people, come to us for a lot, is to filter out what you don't want and hopefully find what you do want. But then to get out in front of all the questions that could become big issues. If you talk about it in the beginning, it's any relationship, right? If you talk
Well, I was
about
going
it
to
at
say, what it
first,
really comes down to is communication, right? Like super
communication.
clear communication. Like when your
Super clear.
kids come for spring break, do they stay in another bedroom, and do you have to pay extra for that? Or is it just, yeah, there's a lot to figure out.
Right, there is. And I would submit, and of course, this is my personal experience on this part. But I have a feeling, just from talking to other people that have done this, it is good to really formalize this stuff. But as you get to know someone, you can, that's a living and breathing document. If it needs to change, you can both change it if you agree to change things, because you might be skeptical about, I don't know if I want, a bunch of visitors, but after you live with someone for a year, you go, oh, well, they're my friends too. Of course they could stay. So, humans tend to be a lot more flexible with someone they know. And obviously, if you're home sharing, you're going to get to know that person. And if it doesn't work out too, there's parameters in the home sharing agreement that we, kind of say, hey, at 30 days, give a 30-day notice. And it's kind of a get out of here clause, because if it's not working, it's not working.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
So what have been some of the worst things that you guys have seen?
It's so funny. I feel like Michael Stout on The Office when I answer this, because there's just not that much bad stuff.
Well, that's
good. We've had a couple people who maybe have, just not worked out.
Yeah, where it just doesn't work out. And then
do you guys, a big scary story to tell you.
Well, that's good. No, that's, I mean, that's great. That's what we want to hear, that this basically works. People are reasonable. And I mean, I'm often surprised with the sites like HomeSwap or HomeExchange.com or Airbnb. I mean, like I'm an Airbnb host and haven't had any problems yet at all. So I think it is really interesting. And I've home swapped and they were great experiences. So I just love the sound of your company. So what is the typical duration of stay? Is there a typical duration?
Right now, we're averaging about a year, right around a year. But that when I came on board 3 years ago, we were, I think, at 9 months. So as our company ages, the length of our leases tend to, I think, you'll see longer leases. But, some people you can put, that's another, compatibility kind of question. You can put, hey, I'm looking for 3 months, 6 months, both. I don't care, I'm a year or longer. So you can really talk about what you're looking for.
Yeah. And someone in the audience is from England and asked if she can do it. I can't see why not, right? She could create a profile.
We are only available in the US right now.
But could she come here?
Yes, absolutely. And I'd love to know how it goes too.
But she
please keep us
her house in England. And are there other companies like Silvernest? Like someone asked if there's one in Canada. Like, does this exist I haven't heard of this elsewhere.
There is, I want to say, and I wish I had my little spreadsheet in front of me, but I think it's called, I want to say Sparrow, but if I'm wrong, I apologize. And I can, maybe email you later, but, or you can reach out to me. I'm a Revel member now. So you can ping me and ask, but I think it's called Sparrow in Canada. And there's a real movement for home sharing in this country. Yeah. There are programs, they tend to be hyper local and small. We're the only nationwide, platform that I'm aware of.
It makes so much sense. I have a good friend. I think I mentioned to you maybe in our first call, I have a good friend who's just decided, to get to leave her house in Westchester and travel around the country. And I know two friends from the community who have just taken off and kind of traveled around the country for fun. And also as a way of maybe financial reasons or maybe just adventure, a little bit like Nomadland, that amazing movie. But it just seems like it opens up a whole world of possibility for different ways to live and connect with people.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
there's so many little hidden benefits that you find. It's fun. First of all, I think it's a really fun way to live. I mean, and nothing is perfect, right? Of course, I am sure I annoy the heck out of my roommate. And I know every once in a while I'm like, oh, Joan, but I would not trade it for the world. I mean, it opens up those networks, but it also is so convenient sometimes to just have someone, you
To
know,
help take care of the dog. Like you could,
help all those little, somebody else rolled in the trash can bins or unloaded a dishwasher or knows when you come home from a business trip
I
and
was about to say,
cares.
sometimes people
All
just
those
wanna-
things.
right. You might just want to be in a place in your life where you don't want to come home to an empty house. And
Mhm.
it's a way to hold on to the house you love, both financially, but also just it makes it more comfortable to be there,
It
perhaps.
does. It does. And you blend stuff, and sometimes you, your styles have to kind of sometimes merge a little, and sometimes that looks a little quirky, but who cares? It's
Yeah.
fine. It's fun. And at the end of the day, all of the benefits, the flexibility. Joan's actually, she's taking care of someone right now and had to run out of town. But I was like, go, just go. You don't need to worry about your dog. I've got this. Just go. You take
That's
care of the
pretty
things
great.
that you need to take care of.
I have to say,
Right.
I live alone now, and like I have to go to San Francisco next week, kind of at the last minute for work, and it's a real pain getting someone to take care of my dog.
Oh, the money you save just in watching each other's dogs is
Yeah,
phenomenal.
so much. That's right. 'Cause it's like $100 a day in New York
I
to get
know,
to
it's
take care of your.
terrible.
So
Yeah.
speaking of money, how does Silvernest make money?
So we take a percentage of rent. So after you can list free, and then we take a percentage of rent once you find someone. And then we also offer, so part of our platform too is we're very concerned about making sure we're secure. So, to get on our platform and create a profile, you have to have ID verification. You can also, as a homeowner or a housemate, request background checks from either party. So, and those are, $29.99. So there's that on there. And then we have a lot of partnerships. We have people who really want us to be the technology that supports a partnership. So they license our technology and we're just kind of the power behind a home sharing program for
What does
nonprofits.
that mean? So like other home sharing programs have licensed your platform, your tech?
Some have just added us to a service line that they have. So for example, we have one that's a HUD certified housing agency, and they offer all of these services to homeowners. And they said, oh, home sharing would be a great thing to offer, but they're not going to build a technology behind it or anything. And
Great.
we have all the stuff already. So we just are quietly kind of behind it, and they can
So that
license our
means that
platform.
for me, it's actually another really good option for kind of like public housing or government programs.
It is. I
Really,
talk to a
really
lot.
smart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've identified about 50 home sharing programs that either exist or we expect them to launch in the next year or so around the country. And we're talking to a lot of them about, hey, how can we support you? How can we help you do what you do best? And then, we can come in and help scale it and do lots of really great stuff behind the scenes with the tech. Because we're
That's
just
so great. So it's
really,
actually it's a really good mission. I mean, I think we have a really good mission at Revel too.
you do.
Social infrastructure and kind of supporting women's lives, but that's a really good mission because it's,
Mhm.
I think, yeah. I mean, as I keep
Well,
saying, financially and emotionally, you're really offering a service that people need.
this is by far the best team of people I have worked with that I can ever remember, other than maybe teachers are right up there. I was a teacher for a while, so we just had that really tight mission focused vibe. And we just got our public benefits corporation designation. So we are a public benefits corporation now, which the whole team is super proud of. So really excited that we can kind of really say, hey, we really do believe in this mission of affordable housing and aging in place and creating ways that people can connect. And COVID brought social isolation and loneliness into the spotlight so much more than it ever has been. Absolutely. And that was even kind of my story after the kids left for college. I'm super outgoing and I felt like but all of a sudden I was like, what do people do? I mean, interacted with parents, and then I was single.
How do you find your people? Yeah,
How
no,
do I
and that
find
statistic
people?
about, right, if loneliness is the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day,
Mhm.
right, health-wise, it's really real. So, and even the phrase aging in place, do you want to talk about that for a sec? Because it's such an important concept.
Oh,
Um,
sure.
yeah.
So most people's wealth is tied up in their homes, right? Especially as you age. And kind of back to your earlier question of, who's on Silvernest, it tends to be people that are a little bit older, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, because that tends to be who has room in their home to share. But again, anyone that has room in their home and needs a roommate can use this. So aging in place, right? Houses are not getting any less expensive to maintain, or if you're on a fixed income and you've got these rising property taxes as valuation increases, you have a mismatch there with what you can afford. So you hate to see people in this conundrum of, I have a big house that I love. I don't want to leave my community. I don't want to leave my neighborhood. I want to stay here, but it's getting expensive. It's getting maybe a little bit lonely. It's getting maybe a little hard to take care of. So the option, is there to, if you have extra space, you leverage that for some income, companionship, help around the house. And actually, one of the cool things we do is we say, hey, if there's maybe a gap in what you can afford, like, so say somebody looking for a place says, I can only afford 700 a month, and you were hoping to get 1,000, you can indicate that you're willing to negotiate rent for help around the house.
Mhm.
So
Awesome.
maybe some errand running or lawn mowing, rake
Dishes,
and leave.
some
Yeah,
laundry or
something.
whatever. Yeah, that
I know.
is cool.
Yeah.
So someone in the audience has asked the question, she'd like more clarification, please.
Mhm.
How is this different from Airbnb, where someone can rent a room out in your place?
Sure. So Airbnb, the big difference, I guess, in just conceptually too, is you have to use our site. You have to be sharing the home. So on Airbnb, you can find empty homes, and they're for very short-term rentals for a weekend, or however, a week. But minimum for us is a month, and this is really designed for a home sharing arrangement.
Yeah, it's different. It's not Airbnb is vacationing and
It's
not
a little more, right. So it's a little more geared toward kind of an alternative to a hotel or motel. And this is really for someone who wants to live, with you.
Yeah, I mean, although fair enough, Pamela, who asked the question, I understand what you're saying. It's true that there are a lot of Airbnb situations where you're renting a room in someone's
Absolutely.
home, but generally you're not staying for a month or 6 months or a year. You're not living with the person, you're kind of staying there.
Right, which is why we can ask about preferences and things like that. Hey, let's really talk about how we're living together. Most Airbnbs, you're not talking about, hey, are we splitting utilities, and
right, you're not
are we
negotiating
sharing ketchup? Right.
Right. Who's cleaning out the cat litter?
Right, exactly.
And what happens, just a technical question, if things don't work out, do the local tenant laws take precedence over Silvernest contracts? That's a very specific question, but and maybe you haven't encountered that yet, but I am curious, do you guys offer mediation services? How do you get involved when things go wrong?
That's actually something we've been asked for and is on the roadmap here. But we've, our leases it's actually a home sharing agreement, but they've covered kind of, as much as they possibly can, as far as, hey, this is 30 days, here's 30 days notice. This isn't working out for me anymore on either side, right? Home seeker or host. And so, but you also, going into this, you do need to know all of your local, this is where kind of some of your own adulting needs to come in. If you live in a community that is 55 and over, then you need to know this, and you can't have a roommate that's 30, right? So you need to kind of know your local laws too and what applies. But we're always standing ready to help navigate whatever we can. We have a lot of pretty robust customer service to where if you have questions, you can always reach out and just say, hey, I'm a little confused by this. Can you help me out?
Yeah, and I think that really does make sense to what we were talking about before. It is it's often surprising how few things actually really go wrong on Airbnb. Not that they don't go wrong, but not that much, or on home.com. And to a question in the audience who says, is this permanent housing or just for people on the move? It sounds like it's both. The minimum is a month. The average is a year. That average seems to be extending and growing. So what are your plans? Like, what's your vision for Silvernest in the next 10 years? What's the growth strategy?
I really think, well, our vision is just that people see home sharing as an option. And I think it's getting there. The sharing economy, luckily, there's a lot of people sharing a lot of things already, Uber, and, there's all kinds of
the buy nothing groups, which
right. Oh, I love that group. Yeah,
yeah.
It's great. So people are getting, I think, more acclimated to, hey, let me think about what I can share and how I can leverage it to do something good in my community, to make a little money, to have a purpose, whatever your motivation might be. I think just letting people know that this is an option out there that might keep them from making a rash decision. If something happens, if you have a job loss and you just need to maybe gap 6 months, well, maybe you could just that extra. Our average rent nationwide is $850. Of course, different markets will command more or less, but a lot of times that $850 could be the difference between you needing to leave a home and a place you love, or just letting you take a breath to get caught up, to find another job, or to get through a death, or get through a divorce, whatever it is, right? There's so much that sometimes if you could have just had 6 months to breathe and make a decision, right?
No, it reminds me also, there's that website that kids use. I think, is it called Moo? Or there's a site where a lot of like college kids use it, where you can go work on a farm internationally. My daughter Ella, there was a woman in New Zealand who was getting a surgery. She had a big horse farm and she was getting a surgery and didn't have enough support. And she posted on this site, and she got 3 college age students to go live and run her horse farm in New Zealand for 3 months.
I wish I'd have known about that.
I know, while she recovered. Super, super cool. So just more to this kind of sharing economy idea of like, how can we be creative with our resources and share in ways that benefit us on all sorts. Woof. Thank you very much, Mary Jo. It's woof. Exactly. Woo.
I love it.
Appreciate the help. So yeah, I really like this concept, and they are all tied together.
It is.
Yeah, like with buying.
When people, I think, there was such a kind of, you save up, you buy a house, you raise your kids, and then you go, to a senior living community, which that could work. But now I think this is opening up the possibility that housing is pretty fluid, right? You could buy your house, and then you could share a home, and then maybe you save up to buy a different house that fits your needs better now with the income that you earned or the money that you saved by sharing, and then maybe you buy a house to share again because you loved it so much. I don't know.
It opens up a whole lot of flexibility, a whole lot of different ways, and people don't. I mean, look, if we're incapacitated and we need long-term care, and we, eventually we may need to be in institutions, but I think thinking about different ways to deal with aging as we get older and where we're living and how we can be more flexible about it. These are great things, right? This is very, very important. And thank you, Mary Jo. It's called Woof, WWOOF.
I have to learn stuff here. Okay.
Yeah, Woof is cool. And I think any ages can do it. I mean, I've only heard about college kids doing it, but we could do it. Like, we could do it in retirement. We could go work on a farm. Another one of my daughters wanted to go woof in Japan. Like, you can go on. And to Michelle, who just asked, is this free? Is there a website? Yes, it's called Silvernest. And you can go on and create a profile. It is free. If you do it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jennifer, if you do a deal, if you do a lease with someone, then Silvernest takes a percentage. What is the percentage?
5%.
5%. So they take 5% of any lease that you sign on the platform. But the advantage of the platform is they're giving you advice and helping you figure out what to structure and what to ask. And obviously they're helping you find the people. Another question is, do you have home sharers who have multiple roommates at the same time? Say you have 4 or more bedrooms in your home. That's a good idea. Yeah, it's really very Golden Girls, right?
Yes. I spoke with a woman in Dallas who that was my first interaction with someone who'd used Silvernest to find her first roommate. And then she and her first roommate decided together on the second roommate, and then the 3. And so she ended up with 4 roommates.
That is really cool. I mean, I
thought it was way cool.
Complications, but it's super cool. And when it works, it must be awesome. And obviously also, as you said before, we're all grown-ups, and some things that work for a while don't work forever, and you can just make an adjustment. Sandra asks, is that a one-off fee of 5%? I would guess it's for each lease.
It's just per month. So we have a lot of other kind of features on the website. So if you want to stay on the website and continue your membership and kind of get all of the support and things you need, then it's ongoing. But you can cancel it anytime you want.
Very interesting. Well, I just love this. This is great.
I do too.
And I'm so glad that you've now joined Revel and you're going to start participating in events on our site because we're the same age. We're 52.
Yes.
And I have to say, I had an event here last night at my house that was so fun. We played this game. I don't have it here. It's called, it's by Esther Perel. You know her, the famous, she's a psychologist she wrote a big book on adultery. She has a podcast. She's this amazing psychiatrist. And it's a game called How Do We Begin? And it was like a storytelling game. And so 6 women came over, 2 of whom I knew, 4 of whom I didn't. And we played this game where we were like asking each other, deep, dark questions. And we had dinner, we had chili. Like, it's great. So I'm excited for you to participate.
I am so going to do this stuff. I'm so glad I found y'all.
Yeah.
Seriously. I have had so much fun looking through the website and just seeing all your events. And I watched a few of the podcasts and it's
glad. Well, and we have the same struggle you have, because someone else pointed out in the chat that where she looked on your site where she's saying, and there weren't a lot of people in the Pasadena area. There weren't a lot of Silvernest listings, but similar to Revel, like we had a woman just last week who created a roller skating event in Austin, and she didn't get a ton of takers because we don't have a ton of people in Austin, but if we keep spreading the word, we will.
That's all it is. I mean, it literally, if there's someone that's, and what's fun is it doesn't cost you anything, but maybe about 15 minutes to just list your home. If you're even kind of just curious about who would I get, who would be interested, we give you a lot of guidance, but if you just think of us as a tool, we go, hey, we think maybe there's a price calculator, right? We go, hey, we think maybe you could get 800. If you want to try for more, you can. If you want less, but you can see who comes your way, and you don't have to engage if you don't want to, but I think it would be fascinating to see who you might get, and someone might really resonate with you. That's
an idea. Maybe I should do it. I have a 2-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn, and I'm only here like half the time because I'm also at the beach a lot of the time.
We're not going to tell you what to do, right? I mean, this is your choice. It's just a choice. It's one more choice in a myriad of choices. So if you don't find the person and it doesn't work for you, that no harm, no foul. You've spent maybe 15 minutes.
Right. No, I love that. And we all want
change your life, right?
Yeah. And more, it's like that whole idea of, just saying yes and being curious and having adventure and just trying new things. So I'm totally with you. Like, you don't know what could happen. You don't know what amazing person could walk into your life through Silvernest.
You don't. And you can decide too. What my favorite kind of story for people, I guess my aha moment with this too, was I was talking with a woman and she said, yeah, I have a 5-bedroom. She said, I was always worried because I want my family home at Thanksgiving and Christmas. I want my big house back for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And I was like, so put it on there. Yeah. And so she, because there's plenty of like kind of check the box questions, but then there's also plenty of space to just talk about you and what you want. Yeah. And she put, I want my house back at Christmas because my family comes, and found a roommate. I mean, she literally is like, I don't want to be at your house at Thanksgiving, Christmas. I'm going to go home. Right. And so
I want to go away. I want to see my kids. I want to go to Paris. Right. That's a perfect example of just like, say what you want, ask for what you need.
Ask for it, and
lessons.
But you have to ask. You have to ask.
Right. You have to put it out there. I love it. All right. Well, Jennifer, this was great. Super great.
Thank you.
Everyone, the site is called Silvernest. This is Jennifer Hammer. You've been participating in our episode of Raging Gracefully, which is the Revel podcast, which gets released every Friday. Really appreciate having everyone here. And we're going to keep spreading the word about Silvernest because it seems super cool.
Well, I'll just keep spreading the word about Revel. So,
okay.
And if anyone does want to ask me anything, I mean, Jennifer@silvernest.com. It's really easy. Happy to, just shoot me an email. I don't mind.
Perfect. Great. Jennifer@silvernest.com. All right. Thanks
everyone. Nina.
Take care, Jennifer. See you later.
Bye-bye.